G'day, my name's Pat Norman and I'm one of the academic liaison librarians that supports the business school at the University of Sydney. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of the skills that you'll need in order to do research for any case study assignments you might have. When you're doing research into a business, it's really important that you understand a few pieces of information before you start searching. Your case study will usually specify a particular company that you need to look at. You'll need to know where that company is based, whether it's an Australian company or an international company. You need to know what kind of product your company sells. It helps to know who your company's consumers are, and also the ownership status of the company. In order to find out this information about your company, you need to do some broad scoping searches to start off. One of the first places you should go to is the company homepage. The company homepage will give you an insight into the company's products, how they see themselves, and it'll often contain a mission or value statement. Some strategic Googling around the company can be really helpful, particularly looking at Google News and some of the most linked and latest articles related to the company. You can carefully use Wikipedia because this can help you to understand whether a company is an international company, whether it's a parent company or a subsidiary of another larger company, and also the library databases, which we'll get into in a moment. So you may have found on the company's website their mission, but you'll need background information to the company in order to go a little bit deeper in your case study. The reason we want you to find out whether a company is Australian or international is that some of the library's databases only cover Australian companies. There are specific databases that will provide some coverage of international companies. Knowing the products that the company sells can help you identify the industry that it operates in. You can also find this out in some of our other databases. If your company primarily operates as a business-to-business organisation, you may have to search a little bit wider to find more information on the products and industries that the company operates in. And subsidiaries of parent companies may not appear in the same databases in the same way as their parent company. You just need to be aware of this. So one case study that has been used previously in the business school is the example of Facebook. When people were looking for information on Facebook, the company, a simple Google search will turn up what you'd expect: Facebook, the social network. For people looking to find out more about the company, you need to go to Facebook's investor page. So to search for this, you type into Google Facebook and investor or corporate page. What you'll find is a series of URLs for Facebook that says about.fb.com, and it directs you to investor pages that include statements about the company's mission, annual reports, and more. Taking a step further out from the company, we might look at industry, supplier, consumer, and competitor information, and this is where the library's databases become really valuable. For industry information, some of our key databases are IBISWorld, which looks at Australian industries and companies, Factiva, which is a news media database, and Business Source Ultimate, which is an academic journal database. For consumer information, we have Passport, which gathers consumer information with global coverage, IBISWorld, and the Australian Bureau of Statistics. For competitor information, you might look at IBISWorld, Company 360, which has larger company coverage than IBISWorld, and Factiva. And for supplier information, the most useful is IBISWorld and some strategic Googling. The library's subject guides provide high-quality resources, and you can access all of these materials by going to the subject guides link or by following this bit.ly link here. So why would you use an academic database versus Google? Well, for a start, for quality assurance. Databases apply rigorous selection criteria. They don't just include everything, whereas Google is designed to index all the information out there on the internet, and some of it can be quite unreliable. Our databases have more sophisticated search and filtering functions, so you can actually tell them the year range that you're interested in, the types of sources that you're interested in, the specific companies or industries that you want to find out more about. So one of the great things about accessing these materials through the library is that we subscribe to databases like Passport and IBISWorld, which do their own original company and industry research. So there's material in there that you just can't get on Google. And our databases provide access to review articles, which summarize past literature. So you can get an understanding of what research has been done in the past and how that's informed what's happening at the present. So these are some of the key databases that you might want to use for doing your company and industry research and building a picture of a particular company for a case study. Let's take the example of Telstra. After doing some Googling online, you might have identified the company website and using Google seen some of the news, maybe a Wikipedia article, social media posts from Telstra, and ads. So you have a really good idea of the products that Telstra sells and their corporate statement of values and mission. Next, you might use the library's databases to access IBISWorld or Company 360 to get a better idea of the structure and financials of the company, Passport to get an insight into its consumers, WARC to find out about its advertising and brand, and using all of these databases together, you can get a better picture of the industry, telecommunications, that Telstra operates in, the consumers, both business and individual consumer, and Telstra's major competitors in Australia. And then once you've got this information together, you might start to think about some of the issues affecting the company or industry that you're reading about. That brings us to the next level of research, which would be a PESTLE analysis. A PESTLE analysis looks at the political, economic, social, technological, legal or regulatory and environmental factors impacting a company. It does require you to look in a whole lot of different sources to find information on all of these key issues. We've put together a guide that shows you some of those key resources that you can use. So visit the bit.ly link on your screen, and this is also located in the library's Company and Industry Research Guide. The key to using these databases, though, is to do some thinking before you search. Unlike Google, they don't have algorithms that will automatically figure out what you're interested in finding out. You need to think about your key concepts. What are the core ideas or concepts that you want to find out more about? And then think about related terms. These are terms that describe those initial concepts in other ways. For example, you might think of customer and consumer. You connect these terms using search operators. The most basic search operators are and or. You connect different concepts using and. For example, Telstra and telecommunications industry. This narrows your search down. You connect similar concepts using or. This broadens your search. So you might search for telecommunications industry or mobile phones market. A phrase search allows you to search for an exact phrase, like corporate social responsibility. This will narrow your search down. Without putting quotation marks around corporate social responsibility, a search will look for each of those words in an article, but not necessarily together. After you've found some results, it's then time to refine them down. The first thing you do when drilling down is start with a really broad search term. Think about the term that will give you the most results possible. Then search within those results by using and to narrow the number of articles you've got down further. Then think about the date limits that you want to apply. It's really important to think about date limits when you're doing research, because if you're interested in the history of a company, you might want a longer date limit. But if you're only interested in the current status of a company, older articles are less relevant. You can also filter for source type. So if you're looking at academic research on a particular area, like the construction industry or corporate social responsibility, or perhaps a particular model of research that you're using, then you can filter for journal articles or peer-reviewed journal articles, which will narrow your results down. And it's worth thinking about any other limits that you might apply. In most databases, you'll find a filtering option on the left-hand side of the page. So have a look at that column to see what kind of filters can help you narrow down your results so they're most useful to you. You can also use Google a little bit more strategically using some of these techniques. For example, you can use quotation marks to search for keywords as a phrase in Google. So rather than construction and industry, you can search for the construction industry. You don't have to use the word and in Google. It automatically assumes that a space is equivalent to an and. And you can group related concepts together in brackets and divide them up with the word or. The or has to be capitalized in order for Google to understand it. You can also do a file type search, which helps narrow down your results to something more useful. Again, here we use quotation marks to specify environmental impact. In this one, I've used the and operator and capitalized it, just so I can keep track of my own search. And then by putting in the file type operator, I can limit my Google search to a specific file extension. PDF is really useful here for finding reports from government agencies or consultancies, particularly about a given industry. You can also narrow for website using the same technique. Let's have a look at another case study of a business, in this case, Boral. To start with, I might do a Google search for Boral and look for its company values and mission. Once I've done that background searching, I'll have a better idea which databases I can search in to get company information, structure, financials, industry information, and then begin a PESTLE analysis. And as I'm doing that searching, I'll start to identify some issues and concepts, things that are happening in the world that I might think impact on my company. In Boral's case, from their company's homepage, I find this statement about their corporate mission. Boral's future depends on us having a robust and socially responsible supply chain, enduring stakeholder relationships, and an engaged and reliable workforce, sustainable community and environmental impacts, and businesses that address the needs of today and the future. Notice here that I've put in bold socially responsible supply chain and sustainable community and environmental impacts, because I think these are going to be key ideas that I might want to write about in my case study. Using IBISWorld, I've identified that Boral is a public company and it operates in the gravel and sand quarrying industries, manufacturing and construction. I also know from an IBISWorld report that its revenue is declining in some segments. Some of the key issues and concepts that have occurred to me here are the idea of corporate social responsibility, the construction or quarrying industries, and also environmental impacts of that industry. So I can find out more about those three concepts using library search, Factiva, and maybe Google News. One of the questions that we get asked regularly in business is how do we actually use the Australian Business Deans Council list? The ABDC list is a way to check the quality of an academic journal that you found. You don't start with the list to conduct your research, you use it as a check after you've found a journal article. So how would you do this? Well, step one is to identify the key terms and search the databases for academic literature. This is what we call a peer-reviewed journal article. Once you've identified an article, you can search for the journal title in the ABDC list. If the journal's listed on the ABDC list, that's great. It means it's a reputable source according to the Business Deans Council. It'll have a rating, anywhere from C up to an A-star journal. A-star journals are the very top journals in the field of business. So if you're using those, you can be guaranteed the information is valuable and accurate. If you're still feeling confused and can't find information, it's worth visiting the library website, sydney.edu.au/library. There's a whole set of information on there and a range of different databases that you can use, and even typing a search into the library search box will start you down the process of finding high quality information. You can also visit our subject guides by going to bit.ly/marketintel or visiting tinyurl.com/buzzlibhelp, and you can make contact with your academic liaison librarian for some one-on-one help.